This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. What a complete shite show this is turning out to be. Not even 24 hours, and the backlash is worse than when they first announced Harry was supposed to receive this award. People are furious. Now, earlier this morning, I posted my review and reaction to what I witnessed last night. I did it before I read or watched anyone's commentary and opinion around it, as I just wanted my own opinion without influence. And overall, I told you that I thought it was a train wreck. There were some moments where I did give some grace, but after reading what people have been saying and people pointing things out, I'm going to have to change my tune a little bit. I take back the point that I gave Harry for trying to at least be somewhat humble and showing just a little bit of humility by mentioning Mary Tillman and giving her some respect.
To everyone at the Pat Tillman Foundation, led by Marie Tillman Shenton, who I'm so honored is here tonight. I'd also like to acknowledge the Tillman family, especially Mrs. Mary Tillman, Pat's mother. Her advocacy for Pat's legacy is deeply personal and one that I respect.
When you listen to this back again, you realize that it is truly passive-aggressive. Harry could have stopped in this moment after he said that he respected her, but then he went on to make it about himself, almost as if it's like, yeah, I understand this loss that you have, and I'm still accepting this award. This is essentially what he's saying in her face, while he is so-called grin-effing Mary Tillman. And I see this in this perspective now after so many people have pointed out that he should have just declined it up front when Mary Tillman had expressed her sadness over it. That would have been a sign of respect. And I also think that he brought up Mary Tillman's name almost as if it was to show that he was truly reflective upon what was going on. But this is what Meghan or whoever wrote this speech thought that the public wanted to hear, but it wasn't heartfelt or genuine. Then he goes on to say, I don't accept this award as Prince Harry, the recipient of the Pat Tillman Award.
I stand here not as Prince Harry Pat Tillman Award recipient, but rather a voice on behalf of the Invictus Games Foundation.
But this is the issue at hand. Pat Tillman didn't represent just being a voice. He took action. This is complete opposite of what Prince Harry does. How impactful is his voice when there's no action or substance behind it? And this is what I hate about this guy in his holier-than-thou attitude. Just because he has eyes on him because of his celebrity status doesn't mean that people are going to take action and listen to him or respect him for being all these things that Pat Tillman is, because he's not. Harry really needs to understand that the judgment call to do this really actually hurt not only the Pat Tillman Foundation, but it also hurt the Invictus Games and those veterans. Because I'll tell you this right now, I'm so turned off by these organizations that I won't support it because they have this man-child being the so-called voice. The voice represents nothing. All it did was show us how Harry and Meghan exploit vulnerable people and exposed how Hollywood elites and this whole scene is all about money and clout. None of this benefited the veterans. None of this really drew awareness to want to give to it and support it. In fact, it did the quite opposite. Plus, it put a focus now on the Pat Tillman Foundation for their questionable operation. Even though this PR exercise, which is exactly what it was designed to pull at the heartstrings, there's actually some tea that was shared from someone who was actually in the theater witnessing what went on. Here is a comment that came from the St. Meghan Markle Reddit community in which this user, odd_Sherbet9134, writes, adding this here since I can't create a post. I was at the ESPY Awards and want to add my experience. We were invited due to my partner's veteran status. In fact, a number of vets and their families were invited to be part of the audience and sat together. I felt like having the three presenters from Invictus immediately shielded Harry from criticism. You know, looking back on that, I have to agree, and I'll tell you why because of one specific word in a second. As soon as they came on stage, everyone stood up to cheer. No one was going to boo or criticize him with them on stage. It would have looked horrible, and I'm sure he knew and planned that. When he was finally called on stage, everyone stood to be respectful. It was expected. Regarding the speech, there were some beautiful words, and I know he tried to convey this message of unity, but it didn't feel genuine. It was clearly written to make him appear humble and a humanitarian, to take the heat off his nomination. No doubt he had a lot of help on this. Meghan. At the end, it almost felt like we were being lectured. Yeah, I have to agree. But we know if he truly believed this award belonged to the competitors, he would have declined. Of course, he will list this award on his Sussex profile to boost himself. And this person is right because they wasted no time in putting this up on the Sussex.com website. And this further solidifies the point of getting this award. This was all for PR, which is what makes this so disgusting. Anyhow, getting back to this. Who is he kidding? It makes me angry how he uses veterans to elevate himself. Well, not only does he use veterans, but he also uses the vulnerable youth, the children in Africa. I mean, the list goes on. Soon after his award, the wife also went backstage, I'm assuming to take pictures. That would be correct. Ironically, as she is walking across the stage during the commercial break, our vet group gets a shout out from the audience entertainer. Everyone is cheering, but she doesn't even acknowledge us. She kept walking. Thanks for showing you cared. I roll. Anyways, they left about 30 minutes before the show ended, and yes, the claw was on full display. It's creepy how she handles him. Oh, we know. We know. This is the sense of entitlement that this woman has. The fact that she has this title, she feels like she can do whatever she pleases. Like, do you think anybody who was sitting in that audience would get up and walk across the stage if they weren't supposed to be there? Not even the A-listers or the athletes who have 10 times more money than these two would do that, just because it's crass. As I said before, these two didn't even bother to stay for the rest of the ceremony and they just left. I loved in my comment section, someone called them grab and dash. That's going to be like my new nickname for them. And I couldn't agree more with the subreddit user saying that it's so incredibly creepy. We all know that Meghan is incredibly insecure, and it's why she has her claw holding on to Harry for like dear life. When you look at her hand here, holding Harry's hand, you can see that she has the dominant clasp with her thumb over his. Now, if Harry was grasping her hand, if he was so-called protecting her, then his thumb would be over hers. But no, she is asserting herself, the alpha male self of her, onto this beta. But look at Harry's body language. Subconsciously, he leans away from her, and it almost looks like he's tensed up because moments before, when he was taking a photo with Serena, he was relaxed and smiling genuinely. Meghan is like a legit buzzkill. And in yesterday's video, I had said that there was a woman in green looking at Meghan. She didn't stand, she wasn't clapping when Harry was announced and went up on stage. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was Serena Williams' sister, Venus Williams. From the looks of it, Venus was not impressed with this couple, and I don't think that she is a fan of Meghan Markle. As everyone was standing and clapping as Harry got up on the stage, Venus Williams did not clap and she did not stand up. Or at least from what I see here, she is busy giving Meghan these daggers. It's interesting in this delicious clip where Meghan looked like she was hoping Harry was going to pull her up on stage or at least give her a kiss and acknowledge her. You see Ashley behind her signal to people to stand up because people were not standing. Everything that Grab and Dash did here was carefully choreographed, and it's so obvious. Now, there's some people online that claim Prince Harry was booed. And initially I thought that, but it was quickly drowned out by not only the loud music, but possibly an applause machine. I don't know. I really couldn't tell when I went back to it. And this was the clip.
Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
But that's where I heard it. Let's listen to it again. Now, before you go run off and send this clip saying that Harry got booed, just know that I added a boo track on here because I thought it was appropriate. The first clip, I didn't hear, or at least I couldn't hear a distinct boo because it was drowned out by this music and probably the fillers that they had in the audience. So you can't really tell one way or another, but know that I was booing from my house, and I'm sure many others were also booing too. There was a lot of effort that went into creating this whole facade in hopes to improve Meghan and Harry's brand, at least improve Prince Harry's reputation to some extent. But the reality is it didn't work. And we know this based off of just looking at the statistics from the reactions that people have been giving all day. On YouTube alone, Harry's speech that was posted by ESPN approximately 16 hours ago gained over 130,000 views, with 16,000 people disliking and a total of, at the time of my recording, 5,229 comments have been posted, with the majority of them being disapproving of not only Prince Harry for accepting this award, but also disappointment with ESPN for doing this, particularly to draw attraction for people to watch the ESPYs. I think the real temperature check here is understanding that it's not just the Megxit community and us in our little bubble that are angry over this for what Harry has been doing. It is a wider audience, and it's comforting to know that Americans are angry about this. They see this disparity in this elite class who feel like they can do whatever they want because they have money. A lot of the anger that people have around this is how Harry is using these veterans as his cash cow and brand management in order to get some good PR. And by doing that, they are taking advantage of Pat Tillman's good name and cheapening what he represents. These elitist parasites are so disconnected from the rest of us, and being in their own little echo chamber, think that because they have money, they can buy off the media, as what Meghan and Harry have shown us that they do. And this is why the majority hate free speech on social media and have been pushing for so much regulation. It's because they have lost the control of being able to manipulate all of us. So in this case, the Sussex PR machine went into overdrive, and it's no surprise that all of the outlets that push the Harkle propaganda have been doing the same thing over the last 24 hours, making it sound like Harry was this deserving recipient of this Pat Tillman Award and showed humility in his so-called impactful and powerful speech, a speech that no doubt Meghan was behind. We all know how she loves to pull on people's heartstrings. The sad part about all of this is that this couple most likely walked away last night thinking that this was an epic success. And that's because they're surrounded by yes people telling them what they want to hear. Any type of criticism or dose of truth and reality, you lose access to them. And I think that's why Serena kisses Meghan's ass, even though Meghan is a nobody. Even though Meghan will never, ever be in vicinity of the royal family again, it's just the idea and concept of being connected to the royal family. And I believe for Serena, this is a status thing. Serena shows herself in this opening speech.
Actually, only pretty often that I get to be in a room with actual royalty.
Actually, only pretty often that she gets to be in a room with actual royalty, meaning like the rest of you don't have that kind of access. Like, what exactly was the point of that? Are you wanting us to be envious of you? I mean, nobody cares that you have access to these two losers. All it really does is make people question, why are you hanging out with two con artists that are known grifters? What does that say about you, Serena? Grab and Dash needs Serena more than Serena needs Grab and Dash. So why lower yourself, Serena? I don't recall Meghan sending a jar of her scam jam to Serena, so what is she getting out of this, aside from being connected to two royal rejects? Doesn't seem very attractive, does it? I'm willing to bet that Harry is going to come to regret receiving this award because I live for the day to see Jim Jordan subpoenaing Harry to Congress and questioning him. Can you imagine on Capitol Hill, Jim Jordan reading out his bio and mentioning that he was given this prestigious award? I could totally see Jim Jordan crucifying Harry for accepting this award while at the same time he's trying to undermine the very same freedoms that this award and the person behind it represented. So I'm looking forward to that. This just got even more interesting. So let's see how this all plays out, because the more noise we continue to keep making and drawing this attention to why this guy is so undeserving, specifically surrounding how he is undermining the so-called democracies, I think more people are going to wake up, and hopefully more people that are running the show in our government are seeing this. I don't know why this has taken so long, but Congress really needs to put Harry in the hot seat and question him about January 6th, as well as his involvement with this censorship industrial complex. I mean, don't you think if this guy is going to be accepting these awards and participating with our military, but behind the scenes he is doing everything to sabotage those very same things that they are fighting for and sacrificing their lives, it should all come out and people should know about it? I think so.
Congratulations, Harry. What does this mean to you?
It's great. It's fantastic for Invictus as well. Thank you.
As I close out this video, what I see here is a man who is always angry. Angry at the world, angry at his position, never stopping to think that he was given the world on a plate for just being born. Maybe Harry needs to lose everything in order to finally recognize and appreciate what he had. Because what you're seeing here is this level of entitlement and anger as to how dare these people be upset that I'm receiving this award. Don't you know that I deserve this? Hitting rock bottom with no place to go but up could probably humble him and make him realize that this is not so bad. What he has is more than enough. He needs to get out of that mindset of people owing him things just because he was born. Nobody owes you anything, Harry. As I said before, to me, it looked like Harry really didn't want to be there, and he was just going through the motions and doing it, whether it be for his wife or for something else. Maybe it does have something to do with his visa. Whatever the case, he's angry and upset about something. Now, as far as I'm aware, they were nowhere to be found at the after party. You would think, by default, of course, they were invited to the after party. Especially since a lot of Meghan's so-called besties went. We had Kelly Rowland, we had Serena, Garcelle Beauvais. Remember, she was one who received a jar of that scam jam. Holly Robinson Pete. I guess Harry really wasn't in the mood to party with this toe, or more like a hoof. I would like to close out this video leaving everyone with a temperature check of reality, as we're seeing all these puff pieces, and it may feel like, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. No, it was bad. And I think Canal Citadel, or Canal Le Label, did a great write-up or summary as to what is really being reflected now as the public's true feelings. And she writes, yesterday was the Pat Tillman Award show, and it was a pure choreography of PR rescue, as was expected. But what did that truly accomplish? After getting dragged for a whole week and receiving the massive thumb down from Mary Tillman, SP and Prince Harry's PR, to include his new brain transplant called Meg the Wife, all put together a 5-minute speech to address the backlash. Harry dragged two veterans to stand behind him on stage as a shield and to give the impression of team effort while talking about veteran suicide and claiming he is not accepting this as a prince, but for Invictus. Liar. Now, I didn't catch this at the time, but she's right. Harry's like, whoa, 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 come back. You got to stay here for me. It's not, you got to stay here with me. He says for me, so essentially it's like you got to be here to shield me. And I totally agree. He did use these veterans to essentially get the crowd not to boo him. Because I do believe that if he was there by himself, no doubt somebody might have shouted out something.
Whoa. Come back. Come back. You guys got to stay here for me.
Harry was introduced as royalty by his dear friend Serena. He also made sure to put HRH Prince Harry on screen, an elevated royal title he no longer can use on the screen with a solo picture of himself, as he is the individual receiving it. More to the point, if he was a real team player, Invictus would have gotten the nomination as a team. Harry nominated himself. The words were word salad that his own actions belied because Harry is a liar. Secondly, Harry made sure that Pat Tillman's widow was there to support him when he addressed the part that irked him the most, Mary Tillman's dismissal. In a passive-aggressive speech, he said, "Her advocacy for Pat's legacy is deeply personal and one that I respect. The bond between a mother and son is eternal and transcends even the greatest losses." Then proceeded to dine on Diana's legacy once again. Again, on the surface, the statement seemed noble enough, except that a man who respects the bond between mother and son would never accept an award neither him nor his mother would have supported. Pat's widow is remarried and has her family. She has no loyalty to Pat Tillman's memory. The mother who lost her son raised him and supported him all his life. The one who continued to cherish his memory is the one Harry chose to ignore. So again, his PR words contradict his actions because Harry is a liar. Now, this was a typical PR exercise to endear themselves to Americans, and as planned, they have a full blitz of PR happening on X. But take a step back and you will realize the epic fail this was by the numbers. Walk with me down this massive PR miss. The petition, started by a U.S. resident against Harry receiving the Pat Tillman Awards, reached over 76,000 signatures. The Daily Mail article about the event reached 7.9 thousand feedback answers. 7.9 thousand overwhelmingly negative, with top comments decrying Harry's unfit presence. On YouTube, the ration of negative to positive under his video is massive. In merely 11 hours, 2,700 likes as opposed to 11,000 dislikes. Add to that over 4,000 comments, mostly negative, and dragging him. This is a ratio in percentage of 19% approval to 81% disapproval. Therefore, the Pat Tillman nomination did more damage to his reputation than helped. This was an epic PR fail because the public on both sides of the Atlantic, UK and US, backed Mary Tillman. PR cannot save this couple. Every time they try to gaslight, the public answers clearly: spare us your worldwide privacy tour. Bravo! I couldn't have summarized this any better, and that's why I felt the need to share it. I think all of us feel the same way. It hasn't even been a full 24 hours, and the fallout has been disastrous. I think that's the thing that brings me solace, because the public's not buying it. It'd be different if people were falling for it and they were getting away with it, but they're not. And I think that in itself should bring all of us some peace. Before I go, I'd like to point out another fine example of how children do not like Meghan Markle. Here is Serena's daughter giving Meghan a 100% cut direct and ignoring her. Meghan is trying her best to connect with the little girl, and unfortunately, she looks like a fool. Don't you think it would have been nice if these two buffoons took Archie out of the attic to allow him to see his papa receive such a prestigious award? But then again, this would take attention away from Meghan, and she wouldn't want that. But instead, she would rather deprive this child of once-in-a-lifetime experiences because she can't handle all eyes not being on her. Right, gotcha. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.